Hey, HR friends, welcome back. So we made it to the last day here, the last 12 hours of the 6.5 day 3-3 emotional sequence. All right, so we've had a tough stretch here. We've had lots of polarity. We've had emotional polarity. We've had mental polarity. Now we've had this emotional polarity for the last 4 days. And in the last 24 hours, we jumped up even more in first person emotional polarity. And this last 12 hours is going to be eventful. Okay, you can see how things really start to take off here. Now, third person, not so much, but when we get to the next awareness and the next 12-hour post, you're going to see what's coming. And when we get to the 24-hour section, it's going to show you how this connects and how violent this exchange is going to be. All right. So expect this next 12 hours to be super eventful, and then the following 36 hours is going to be just as eventful. All right. So we're almost to the top of the tide. When we talk about this, we're at a metaphorical tide and we're almost to high tide. And so at the end of this 12 hours, we're going to peak and then it's going to stop and then it's going to reverse when we switch into the 3-4 and it's going to start to go the other direction. And that is going to be what causes the biggest disruption. So no one can avoid this. And when these stay elevated, especially this sequence, because it's done so much to us, okay? This has been a tough one. And at the end here, it's really going to take off. The other thing is you've been watching weather. Weather's definitely going to amplify here. It's going to peak here. And when we get into the next awareness, you're going to see that it stays turbulent here for a few more days, no doubt about it. All right. So as always, we like to start here. This is so important because there's no way you can achieve the objective if we're letting our defenses get the better of us. If we're running away from our problems or we're fighting and creating more problems, well, that's not good for objective at all. Now, objective is so easy to understand. I've made this so simple for you. All you really have to do is understand the concept of a family or a team. All right, so when it comes to a team, think of this family perspective right here. All right. And all of these members are vitally important for the team. And teammates have to get along, they have to cooperate, they have to communicate, but most importantly, we got to have a common focus. And the team's common focus is supposed to be balancing our routines, balancing our choices around family, individual, world, and national perspectives. Now, if our team doesn't get along, and if our team splits their focus and they overinvest in any one of these strategies, then that's what's causing the imbalance that we're seeing in the bigger picture right now. And it's getting concerning right now. You can see that weather patterns have amplified. No one can debate that our weather is definitely starting to become out of control. All right. And as far as what's going on between the nations and what's happening in our nations, there is a ton of conflict happening at the social level. People are getting frustrated with how things are going and how difficult this is becoming. Now, this is because we've all overinvested down here and we forgot to honor our responsibilities up here. As these frequencies test you to see how good you're doing as a team member and how balanced you are as a team member, then you're not going to have any problems with the quadrants of your body, and your experiences are going to be relatively pleasant. If you are not doing your team objective, and if you are not balancing with the team and making sure that you're contributing to a balanced perspective at all four of these levels right here, well, then you're going to be out of frequency. When you're out of frequency, it's going to be super obvious. If you're having upper left, upper right, lower left, or lower right quadrants, it has to do with the first person and third person relationships on either side of this graph. That simple. And we just didn't know this. And we didn't know this because we've been being manipulated by this pattern up here. Okay. So that's a good review here of the overall objective that we're supposed to be achieving. And now we're going to get down here and talk about this next 12-hour section. This is obviously eventful. You can see it. So here's the polarity moment right now in first person. So there is going to be a lot of first person agitation happening in the next 12 hours. Very, very important that you stay as calm as you can in your general sphere of people. Okay. And this is the only 12 hours we're going to talk about because in another 12 hours, I'm going to post and we're going to talk about the next 24-hour segment once we get into the 3-4. But I like to show this because it shows you how hot things are about to get here, all right? And how violent this exchange is going to be. This is one of the bigger ones that we've shown you, all right? So you can see at that 12 hours, we're going to peak well above a 6. We're going to be at about a 7 here. And then it's going to stay elevated again. And it's going to stay elevated. You can see what's going to happen right here. So we're flipping out. So we're in a first person polarity moment. It's going to flip, and then we're going to a third person polarity moment. So we're going to expect agitation, and we're going to expect lots of conflict at the bigger level here in this exchange, as well as pretty significant weather events that are going to be on either side of this. Okay. Now, real important here. Real important here. Calm, cool, collective. Don't overinvest in any kind of reactive strategy. That's just going to make it worse for you. When we overreact, when we act defensively, all it's doing is accelerating aging, and it's ensuring that you're going to have a future state of disease. And here at Health Reconnected, we have created technology that helps you understand exactly why you hurt. And all you have to do is just document in the beginning when you're hurting and where you're hurting. And we can help you focus on exactly what you need to do to make sure you're not going to hurt in the future. All right. It's a pretty good deal. Now, we're going to talk about alignments today. This is going to be a brutal day for alignments, and they're going to be testing both sides of our body. These alignments are amplified moments where two hands of the space-time clocks align, and these alignments are not only super strong, but the durations are long, okay? You can see them all here. All right, so we're going to start at the bottom, and we're going to work our way up. So the first one we're going to talk about is this EP, and you've got two of them here. We've got two EPs. One's 9.5 hours and the other one's 3 hours long. All right. One's going to affect the lower right quadrant. This one's going to affect the upper right quadrant. And you can see them right here. The upper right quadrant's this purple one. The lower right quadrant's this blue one. So blue one, not as much here. Okay. It's not as long. Now, please understand this MP up here is also going to test lower quadrants. This is the strongest alignment in this 24-hour period. And this alignment is 6 hours long. So this is going to test lower left quadrant and lower right quadrant. So this guy right here. And then as this one's stopping, this one's starting. And then it's just going to take over. And there's going to be an EP alignment. All right. So there's going to be a high probability of both lower quadrant dysfunction and upper quadrant dysfunction today. I would expect everything is on the table here. All kinds of joint, musculoskeletal pain, digestive pain, urinary bladder pain, any kind of dysfunctions. We're talking about heart, lungs, congestion, talking about headaches, sinus problems, visual changes, the works. It's all coming. All right. All right. So we've got two left to talk about here. And one of them is the MP. So we're going there next. This is a 9.5 hour frequency. This MP is going to put a lot of pressure up here on the upper quadrants again, both left and right. All right. And then the last one we're going to talk about is this ME. This ME is the longest one today. That's 12.25 hours. This has been going on for days now. Okay. This is a super strong alignment. And this is also going to affect upper right and left quadrants. Now, this side is going to be challenging for a ton of people. These colors up here are leadership colors, and they have to do with balancing and leading at the national and world level, which means you would want to have your routine balanced in that way, where you're making sure that you're helping all the nations and all the world conserve our resources, stabilize our climates. Those are the kind of things that you would have to have in your routine. And if you don't have those things in your routine, then there's going to be some issues during these alignments, especially because they're all stacking up on top of each other. As this time bar runs through, you're going to see this is going to be super powerful. Today is going to be noticeable. It's going to be a struggle. Okay. All right. So that's enough about that. So we're just talking about the first 12 hours, remember here, and we're going to look at the position of the strongest frequencies for this next 12-hour period. Usually we have 10 here, but we don't have the P2 because we're not talking about this one right now. And just look at the imbalance here. Things are really stacked up on the right side. All right. So don't underestimate. There are going to be alignments that are with this M right here, and there are going to be alignments that are with this M right here. Okay. So what that means is it's definitely going to be probable there will be people that are going to have less stuff going on here. But as far as just looking at the number here and the testing sequence that's coming, it's far more likely. Look at, here's our testing sequence with the right side, well above a 4. Same thing here, right lower, well above a 4. On the left lower, below a 4, and on the left upper, below a 4. So if I was in practice, I say this all the time, You're going to see a little bit of everything today, but it's going to be more on the right side of the body, and it's going to be both up and down. But really, everything's fair game because of how strong these alignments are, how long these alignments are. All right, that's enough about that. Okay, so as always, we're just going to briefly mention what we've done here. We've got the rest of 2024 electromagnetic guide up. So this is the guide for the summer season. This is the guide for the fall season. All right. And this is kind of important because what we've done here is we've taken the mystery out of what's coming. We've got the timelines here for you in these 6.5 day sequences. So even if you don't understand these numbers that we have up here, you just look at when it starts and when it ends. And if you've got plans and you're traveling, you'd want to know when these peaks are. I wouldn't want to be in places that are heavily congested during these peaks because it's very likely chaos is coming on and things are going to get a little sideways. And in our world, you can start to understand that right now, especially in the United States. We have made a lot of predictions about mass shootings, and these are the kind of peaks right here where those conflicts, that's what really gets people agitated. When you get into a peak, what's happening is it's just agitating us a little bit stronger, and it's staying that way, and it's been that way for a while usually, okay? And that's how we're making these predictions about the likely times that unfortunate or events like that are going to unfold. So super important. We empower you to have this information. It's also important so that you can start to manage the conflict within the own structure of your life. You know, you're going to find out that you're arguing or that your conflict comes in cyclical patterns. This is the cyclical pattern that you're fighting, and you just didn't realize it. We did not know. And because we did not know, these have been manipulating our choices and convincing us to make this experience very difficult for all of us. All right, so we just kind of reiterated objective again there in the overall goal. And this is just the fall season down here. Now, we've got some confirmation videos. You can come down and check these out. I really hope we're not going to be putting new confirmation videos up in the next 12 hours. Okay. You can see these right here. This is highly likely during this exchange right here, and then even after this exchange for the next 36 hours, we're really going to be warning people about these peaks. This is the kind of peak where something nasty happens in society, okay? And this is going to be fair game here going forward. Also, I wouldn't be surprised in this 12-hour period if we have some horrendous events that make the news because of how strong these alignments are. And when we're in balance, this is really going to amplify the effect. This is going to be a newsworthy 12 hours coming up here. And even after this is done, it's still going to be newsworthy on this side too. All right, we'll see you in 12 hours. Everybody, high alert. Talk to you soon.